Welcome to the Think Tank. Each day we share the news and open dialogue and discuss how it might affect the business world. We speak with different leaders on crisis navigation and management, as well as experts in professional and personal self-betterment. It's meant to be a break. It's meant to be learning and sharing of good news and ideas to start people moving forward. It's called the Think Tank. Joining us today is Robbie Sawyer from Thinker Society, a brand that helps other brands and individuals learn how to think better, be more creative, and collaborate. There is Alberto Elizondo, fresh off his Sports Illustrated shoot, shooting some NFL folks. Thank you for joining there, Alberto. There is Michael Simpson. Now, Michael is actually the CTO of a telemedicine company where they are connecting physicians with their patients via the web. So it's nice that he could connect with us today here. Thank you, Michael. Kimball Anderson, creative producer extraordinaire, where he helps individuals and brands look amazing on stage, delivering their message. T. Scott Anderson, sports video and photo photographer, capturing all sorts of sports. He does the fly cam. He shoots reality shows. Thank you for joining, Scott. There is Dr. Paulus checking in, psychologist, a knower of creativity. He also studies and helps people understand how to be more effective when collaborating and how to tap into their creativity. He always brings an interesting side to our conversations. And finally, rounding off the screen there is Mike Toman, photographer of all sorts, whether it's advertising or documentary or fashion or whatever it may be around those terms. And he joins us from Houston, Texas. Thanks for joining. Just wanted to give a heads up to everybody. Tomorrow, we're going to have a really, really interesting special guest with us. His name's Michael Liebhold. He is a senior researcher and distinguished fellow, and he works at the Institute for Futures Technology Lab. So he looks at what futures and what technologies are going to be developed and will be applied in the future and how they can work today. And it's an interesting time as they're trying to apply new technologies to current situations to help us move forward. So that'll be an interesting conversation. We've also got someone teed up for later in this week who has just reopened their brand new, beautiful hotel in what town is that, Robbie?
Savannah.
In Savannah. So they just came out of shelter and now they're open up. They opened yesterday. They actually had some pretty good amount of people joining in and staying with them. So it'll be interesting to see and understand what the vibe is and are people ready to get back to it. So that's kind of introductions. We've got several on YouTube. Thanks for joining. Please add any comments if you'd like there. We'll look for them. And at this point, we typically like to jump into the news and share what we've seen and heard. Anyone?
California applied to the federal government for aid in meeting their unemployment requirements. First state to do so.
Yeah, I see those numbers keep going up, and not many people reporting that they're getting their unemployment checks or can even get anyone on the phone to talk to them about that.
Right, they can't even get through the processes.
So did the government respond at all?
It was within the last hour and a half. I mean, so I don't think
Doug,
there's time for anybody to do anything.
Doug, you scooped me a little bit. That's exactly what I was about to say. So the Wall Street Journal reported that California has borrowed $348 million in federal funds after receiving approval for up to $10 billion through the end of July.
Yeesh.
So the initial number is 348 million, but they're approved up to 10 billion. So it looks like they're tapping into right at a little over a third of what they were already approved for.
Did anyone head out
for bankruptcy? I'm sure everybody saw that this morning.
Did anyone head out this weekend and see if there was traffic of any sort or people visiting or starting to get back at it?
The restaurants in my neighborhood were very busy.
Were they?
Oh, I mean, very, very busy.
Full throttle off of 35 was pretty busy, or whatever that bombshells. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what you help pay the rent though? You pay the rent or the electric bill there, don't you? Most of the time.
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Sammy and I just did a quick pickup to go lunch from Schlotsky's, and they say their dining room will open on the 8th. What day is that? Friday the 8th. Their dining room will be open.
Schlotsky's has a dining room?
Yes, it's very nice. White linen? No.
No, I went into one place for pickup, and they basically had, it was on both sides, it's all booths, but it was one booth open and two booths closed and one booth open. And they took out all the tables down the center. No one was eating there. There was a lot of people grabbing food, but I thought that was interesting. Yeah, I don't know how that'll play out. I think it's a slow, gradual surge back up. I think people slowly need to start feeling confident. And
we took a picnic down to Turtle Creek on Saturday, it was, and it was packed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the ramification though of the spike in numbers, I think, is going to probably change things a little bit this week, don't you? I mean, no, you don't, Doug?
I don't think so. I think what you've seen is it's Pandora's box.
Okay.
I think what you're going to see sociologically is people have decided it's not going to be me. I'm going back to my life. And I think you'll see this ramp move at speed. And I truly believe that all of the rules that they have set out by the middle of next week will be ignored. And people will they're just going to go back to, 6 feet. I don't think so. I'm going to go stand in line. I'm going to make you uncomfortable. I think you'll see a lot of, there'll be changes. I think you'll see masks, gloves, bowing instead of hand shaking and some of that stuff. But I think this is going to be a rapid return until we see something that causes the government to reinitialize. That's just my 2 cents worth.
Whose responsibility is it to find out whose 25% is what? That stuff can grow just every day. You let a little bit more people. Who's coming by to go? That's a little bit more than 25%.
Yeah,
it's going against your fire code, right? It's who your fire marshal. If you're only up to 100, then you can only let 25 people in. But who's policing that? The police, city, fire?
It's not a law, right? It's never been passed as a law, so it's an order. But what in court? Who's going to, put you in jail over that? No way.
Nope.
Back door. It's like a speakeasy. Hey, man, y'all four go out the back door if they come in.
Well, even New York is saying May 15th they're going to start letting.
Really?
Yeah, I just read just a few minutes ago.
Hadn't heard that. That's interesting.
And it's a mess too. I was listening to something on the radio about the Tyson Foods in particular, to I guess their pork. It's not safe to work there in most people's eyes. However, don't tell me I can't work there because I want to keep working. So it's this major catch-22 of I need to work, but I can't work there, and I'm not getting supported, but then I'm told to go home, but I want to stay. So I don't know if there's a right answer for it.
If only there was some place you could get personal protective equipment for all of those people.
That's right. And have that confidence that you are in a protected environment.
Yeah.
Now, here's a question. Remember when the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 concept was rolled out, they said you have to show 14 days of numbers steady before you move to phase 2. Do you think that's going to be imposed? No, you don't.
I don't. I'd be curious what Dr. Paulus or anybody else thinks. I think I'll be honest with you. Last night in his town hall meeting, when Trump moved the number from 65,000 dead to 100,000 dead, by the way, watch. By the end of this week, that number is going to move again. And he is announcing that the death toll is unrelated to the economy, I don't care.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think psychologically people are just ready, right? And
Yep.
they've reframed the whole thing on 60 Minutes. I think yesterday there were a lot of stories about the consequences of it. The farmers, the doctor in Texas, the counties that don't have, the hospitals in Texas and the small counties are going broke, right? People are saying it's hell, but it's hell on both sides. It's going to be hell if we keep, just hiding from it, and it's hell when, hell to pay as well. So I think people are just, I think, going to just deal with it.
I had a question.
You'll start having conversations that are going to be more about how do I get childcare up and running? What's going to happen to schools next year? Because there are countries who are already talking about not opening schools or only opening them for high school students. I think you'll start to see more of those conversations, and the healthcare side will rapidly fade into the background.
Yeah, you two systems open up, I think.
We've always heard 18 months, Doug, for the development of a vaccine, right? Under normal circumstances. But at some point in time, that 18 months, doesn't that number, you would think you have the ability, that number has the ability to shrink in significant ways if there's a sole focus on doing that. 18 months is because of all of the bureaucracy a lot of times, correct? And getting it pushed through, getting the approval.
No, you've already seen things like they fast-tracked an antibody test in 4 days. Okay, so they didn't do any human trials or anything. Now there's no risk in that. Where the bureaucracy, in my view, is hurting us right now is the fact that they're essentially allowing all of the research, all the drug research, all the pharma research is being done independently. They're not necessarily sharing the data. If it would have been me, I would have done a more wartime footing and said, every researcher, every lab is going to share the data. We're going to accelerate the process by taking all of our supercomputers and AI from IBM and creating a single organization dedicated to finding this. Right now, we have a minimum that I know of 18 different labs trying to come up with it, and it's probably more like 80, but 18 different labs trying to come up with something. And that's not counting the university labs that I don't know about. And so the way this has been, the effort is dispersed means that we're counting more on one place having blind luck than one process that's designed to accelerate it. And it makes my teeth hurt.
One group's hoping to have it by the end of summer, right? To have something available for Europe by the end of summer.
Yeah. Well, I think Europe, while they've allowed a lot of independence, I do think somebody over there, and you probably know, Doctor, I think somebody over there has got a repository that they are sharing the results of what's going on. I think they've got at least a little bit of info sharing going, where, as far as I know, we aren't.
Yeah. Because the Dutch have something going on, the Brits have something going as well. Oxford, I'm not sure which school. Oxford, I think, has it going.
Oxford and Cambridge have both got something that they think could be inside 12 months.
Yeah.
The other interesting note to that is tying the technology to it and having this tracing. And like we were talking at one point about the phones. Okay. I heard an interesting thing too, that in Korea, where they had so much success with that, they tracked, here was Index, as you called him, Doug, the #1 person who brought it from China to Korea. So what they were doing in this is they're trying to make the data anonymous. So it's just a 47-year-old guy who lives in this area, who was here, contracted, and then he's been associated with these people. So they started to do that, and everyone was fine with that. But then the next person he infected was this woman, and then they start extrapolating that and applying more data to it. And the data they applied to it was that it was his sister-in-law, and that it was transmitted perhaps via intercourse.
Oh dear.
So now everyone's completely freaked out that maybe they do know a lot more information.
Oh,
Yeah.
Now they don't want to share or do anything like that. So now they're
Welcome to your
polluting the way they're doing that.
Welcome to the next Netflix movie.
Yeah.
Hey, we got to know if you got it or not, you know?
Yeah.
We have to know.
Oh, good grief.
Any other thoughts?
Well, speaking of treatment, the FDA, I read, granted a couple of emergency authorizations for new drugs to be used in treating COVID-19.
Yep.
Apparently, there is a drug made by Gilead Sciences called remdesivir.
Remdesivir.
Yep. I could have
The
butchered that.
Ebola drug.
Yeah, and it's reported to be reducing recovery time by 31%. And they also granted emergency authorization for a new antibody test yesterday as well.
Yeah, they need to get that out, and I didn't check since Friday, but did the rates in Dallas go up while we're allowing more? Now we're telling people they can go out. Is that what you were saying, Doug?
I don't know that.
Rates?
Well, I don't think that. I think it's going to be a couple of weeks before we see if there's any impact to, the relaxation of social distancing orders. Yesterday, Dallas County reported the single largest jump, or the single largest day of new cases since this whole thing has happened. So that was yesterday from Dallas County. I heard that on the radio this morning.
Well, the Dallas County judge said that all their data had indicated that this week and next week would be the peak of, so, they're anticipating the worst still in front of us, but then to go down. What's going to be interesting, as Michael just said, is that, will the data be offset by the opening at the literal same time, and what will happen? So tune in in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I don't even know that it's going to be. I don't even know that it's going to be 2 weeks, Doug, because you can apparently have contracted it and be, and not be symptomatic for a while, right?
Completely.
And then once you get the test, it's going to be a few days probably before you get the test back, depending on where you go. And then, and then there's also something to be said about, how long does it take for a result to be reported in the official numbers after the test result is back? That could be a day or two as well. So, I mean, it could be the end of this month before we even really see what impacts there might be from relaxing, social distancing requirements right now. Also over the weekend, the New York Times, on their nationwide tracking of cases and trends, the New York Times moved Texas. They've got 3 categories. One category for states where new cases are increasing, a category for where cases are mostly the same, and a final category for where cases are decreasing. And Texas over the weekend, it was either from Friday to Saturday or Saturday to Sunday, got moved from being categorized as cases mostly the same, got recategorized back to cases increasing.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting, given that we've been doing distancing and staying in place all this time, right? Which suggests that's why people are saying, hell, we might as well just go outside.
Well, and so so informal poll. Who's going to continue to self-quarantine, and who's going to say, I'm done, I'm out on the call?
A blend, a hybrid of
I'm not going anywhere.
Sam, you never wanted to go anywhere before.
Well, I go out to get stuff, but then I don't hang out there.
No.
I move around and never stay in any specific place for too long.
Yeah, I'm
I wear a
the
mask.
same way, Scott. Yeah.
I mean, Kimball's been trying to entice me to go eat it in the Quiznos dining room, but I'm not going to. I'm going to get the Quizno and come back here.
Yeah, that's an awful highbrow experience.
I know.
Well, I was going for the patio, but they said it was closed.
Has anybody heard of anybody getting robbed yet? In a
No.
mask.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, with the
That's
mask
got to
on.
happen, right?
Well,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
you can't walk into a store with a Halloween mask on.
You know, just we talked about this last week. None of it honestly doesn't make sense. You got to wear a mask. You go into a restaurant, you take the mask off to eat, right? I mean, I don't understand. I mean, what does it matter if it's
Yeah, I have
25% or if you're going to I mean, you might as well let it open.
I have an appointment tomorrow at the dentist, and they said, be sure to wear your mask. I said, okay, I will.
Yeah, how does that work?
Okay.
It's lucky for you. Both our dentist appointments have been canceled.
Well, this one, I had to wait to get to it. Yeah.
So is anyone, while going out to pick up food, you've gone inside, this weekend, did you see anyone sitting, eating at any tables?
Yeah.
Yes.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Only outside.
And everybody's mask is just down around their neck or what?
Not wearing masks.
Yeah, I don't think they had masks on.
Most did not.
Yeah, I didn't go out. I didn't go out over the weekend. I ordered delivery, but I didn't go out for pickup this weekend. But I did see, folks posting on social media that they were out eating.
So Scott, is the deal if you go into a restaurant with the idea you're going to stay and eat, do you have to wear a mask into the restaurant?
I don't know. I've gone in, picked up pizza at Domino's, and I always wear a mask inside to pick it up, and then I take it off when I get outside.
Yeah. That's why we're trying to get Amanda McFarland on with Make Ready, the acting general manager of that hotel in in Savannah. It'll be interesting to see, what they're doing. I don't even know to what extent their F&B operations are up and running. They must be.
Good.
It'll be interesting to see and get that firsthand perspective on how that's working and how people are reacting.
Well, and again, this is way more Dr. P's category, but I think there's a significant portion of the whole mask thing because the science behind protection just isn't there. It's a psychology. It's about to say we're all trying to do this together and protect each other and to try to speed the process up and give confidence as much as it is to actually be a barrier either way from, the virus.
I agree. And it's becoming more normative because before you felt silly wearing it. Now you sort of say, well, I'm being a good person doing it, right? So it's changed a little bit from saying, well, the people who wear it tend to be from Asian countries, but now it's become more normative here. So possibly, I think people are more comfortable doing it.
Yep.
By the way, my question is the event industry going to be the last one to come back?
Yeah, I think so. Holy cow. Everybody we talk to, the numbers, a lot of it has to do with destinations. There's just trepidation as to convening groups of 50 or more, and all our groups are well more than 50. Sam, what do you think? I mean, you've talked.
I think that it was. I read an interesting one on the New York Times. I think it was with the events, but more importantly, how about the whole Airbnb world? Mm-hmm. So everyone was buying second and third properties solely to rent out on Airbnb, and it was a revenue generator that they did fantastic with, which paid their mortgage and plenty more on those properties. But now that's completely decimated, and all these mortgage payments are coming, and they don't have any way to pay them.
None. It's good. And no one has that I've seen in a public sense. I mean, I'm sure somebody has, but I haven't seen a calculation on that that talks about what that's going to do on the mortgage side. And when you talk about the event side, you know, I think one of the biggest drivers for that, you guys, is going to be the airlines. You know, they were dealt a horrible blow when Warren Buffett exited every dime he had, you know, out of the airlines. He said they're not coming back. They're not coming back anytime soon. And I thought the number I saw was $50 billion out of the airline stock. And, you know, I thought, holy cow, you know, how can you wake up the travel and tourism, the events, if you can't get there?
Well, that's you know, we were talking about this too. It's a crazy opportunity for the airlines because until this time, they were known as the biggest germ bucket in the world. I mean, everything you touch and see that's associated with traveling on an airplane or through an airport, there's germs everywhere. And so they've counteracted now with over-the-top disinfecting and sanitizing. And I think, or I hope anyway, they will really promote that as much as they can. And if there's some way to validate what that is, they could be the shining beacon of this is what sanitary looks like. I mean, if there's anywhere you can be safe, it's here. Forget a restaurant, or forget your school or whatever, your office building. It's on our airplane.
I wonder too, is with the Delta, you know, for the foreseeable future, you're going to have such a different capacity capability. You know, you're just not going to be able to put as many people in a plane, right? I'm old enough. I remember when flying was almost a luxury. Service was great. It was fun. I wonder if they're going to go back to trying to build the margin back up and turn it into something else. If somebody will go down that path, not make it a bus in the sky, but make it an event in and of itself. I have no idea.
Yeah, except they're limiting touch and exposure on board. On the thing I saw from Southwest and American, they're like, you know, we're resuming services or not resuming. Our services are open. Everything's clean and everything's sterile. And we've got things set up in the waiting area.
Yeah.
And on board, we're not serving snacks or doing
no
any
food,
of that
right?
stuff. Yeah. So
I guess that makes it hard to make it a luxury experience when you go in, you sit down, everyone sits down, and you leave.
And the whole time you're doing is looking around to see who's coughing or not and who has their mask on or not.
And you're wearing the damn mask.
Yeah.
Gosh. When does OSHA get involved with places at work, you know, when it comes to chicken and meat and, you know, manufacturing? And
well, you saw what happened. I mean, they were in the process of shutting down the Tyson and the Smithfield plants, and Trump said no. He mandated that they stay open.
Wow. Okay.
So now they're figuring out what their liability is. Can they get sued or not? And that's pending on whether they'll fund the next round of relief or not.
Right.
Well, if you're going to hold the workers or the workplaces responsible, then we can't fund it, or I don't know. I don't get too deep into it.
But he opened up a legal can of worms when they were having that sickness, and he said, "I don't care, keep them open." Years and years that'll be playing out.
Okay.
That's all I have. Anyone else? Anyone?
NFL releases the schedule in a couple of days.
Yeah.
NFL what?
The NFL is releasing their 2020 schedule in a few days.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And what I saw this morning was they're releasing the schedule, and there's no consolidation into there's not going to be a bubble schedule. It's going to be in your city doing, you know, they haven't had any details, but they said there was going to be normal cities, and they're working on what that looks like.
They're not going to putting in Mexico and London either. Everything's going to be
right. That's right.
With fans in the stands or no? Fans on TV.
All I heard was they were releasing it, and I heard no other detail.
Yeah.
We have to go watch from the Bravo Eugenia.
TCU coach is saying he expects the football season to go on.
Saw that.
Gary Patterson said that?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, everyone in those positions, you have to go forward like that. That is it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just looking at each other going, I don't know.
Now what?
Yeah.
Got to start somewhere.
Got to start somewhere. Like we started here, and thank you everyone for joining today. This was episode 26 of the Think Tank, where I encourage you tomorrow to join to see Mike Liebhold and
That's Liebhold.
Yeah, or his brother Liebhold, Mike Liebhold, who will be sharing what are some of the technologies that they're looking for the future, as well as how those are applying today. So that actually should be really interesting. And I will warn you guys, while he can get really, really deep, he also can keep it simple for us all to understand, or at least me anyway. So looking forward to that conversation, 2:00 tomorrow. Please join us, and don't forget, look over here in your chat window. Michael, the CTO from that telemedicine company, sent the link for Michael Irvin.
Yes.
So you should watch and listen to that.
I got the
Thanks
player
everyone.
queued
Stay
up.
home, stay healthy, and stay happy.